ihsan, prihatin, penyayang, sedia berkorban. Haluan akan terus berbakti, haluan tiada henti mengabdi, haluan sentiasa berjuang, haluan jayalah haluan. Haluan cergas, tangkas dan kreatif, jalin kehidupan yang penuh harmoni, berakhlak, mendidik dan berbakti, melahirkan pemimpin sejati. Haluan akan terus berbakti, haluan tiada henti mengabdi, haluan sentiasa berjuang, haluan jayalah haluan, haluan jayalah haluan. Haluan peneraju perubahan, bina masyarakat berakhlak mulia, mencerdaskan Islam, iman, takwa dan ihsan, prihatin, penyayang, sedia berkorban. Haluan akan terus berbakti, haluan tiada henti mengabdi, haluan sentiasa berjuang, haluan jayalah haluan. Haluan cergas, tangkas dan kreatif, jalin kehidupan yang penuh harmoni, berakhlak, mendidik dan berbakti, melahirkan pemimpin sejati. Haluan akan terus berbakti, haluan tiada henti mengabdi, haluan sentiasa berjuang, haluan jayalah haluan, haluan jayalah haluan.
Bukan mudah melahirkan satu produk makanan yang menepati citarasa ramai dan mampu mendapat pasaran yang luas. Namun itu tidak mematahkan semangat Salmah Ishak, 61 tahun. Tanpa putus asa, beliau terus meniba ilmu dan mencuba sehingga mendapat resepi yang disukai ramai. Kini, beliau bergelar pengurus syarikat aiskrim salju di Kubang Pasu, Kedah. Menurut ibu kepada 5 cahaya mata ini, idea untuk beliau memulakan perniagaan aiskrim ini tercetus pada tahun 2014. Ia selepas beliau berpeluang mengikuti kursus pembuatan aiskrim bersama seorang chef terkenal.
Kita ubah suai lah. Kita pandai nak kurang, kita cuba. Bagi kita nak cuba cara macam ni, kita guna bahan apa. Maksudnya kita nak bagi dia lebih berkrim. Bahan susu apa yang kita guna. Pemanisnya macam mana kita guna. Walaupun kita guna gula, kita ada guna susu pekat. Macam itulah.
Jelas Salmah, pada permulaan, produk aiskrimnya hanya dirasai anggota keluarga dan dijual di kawasan sekitar rumahnya. Selepas mendapat respon yang positif, Salmah bertekad untuk melangkah ke dunia perniagaan. Kini, aiskrim salju yang diusahakan Salmah mempunyai 2 kategori dengan 6 perisa. Premium mempunyai perisa durian, strawberry, almond white chalk, salted caramel and cranberry, santan kelapa muda, dark cookies cream dan mint chocolate. Manakala standard terdapat perisa dark cookies, biskut gelap, durian, vanila dan strawberry. Salmah kini mempunyai kilang memproses aiskrim yang memberi peluang pekerjaan bagi penduduk setempat.
Haluan peneraju perubahan, bina masyarakat berakhlak mulia, berceraskan Islam, iman, takwa dan ihsan, prihatin, penyayang, sedia berkorban. Haluan akan terus berbakti, haluan tiada henti mengabdi, haluan sentiasa berjuang, haluan jaya, haluan. Haluan cergas, tangkas dan kreatif, jalin kehidupan yang penuh harmoni, berakhlak, mendidik dan berbakti.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah lana sudurana wa yassir lana umurana wahlul 'uqdatam min alsinatina yafqahu aqwalana. Let us begin our ceremony by reciting Surah Al-Fatihah. Al-Fatihah. Bismillah. We commence by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful, and by sending our salutations and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to those his companions and to those who like to follow his path. First of all, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Abdurrahman Ismail, and I will be your moderator for tonight's forum, inshallah. My dear brothers and sisters, I hope you are all in the best of health and are sitting comfortably at home. So before we go into the discussion tonight, let me first introduce the panelists. First panelist, Dr. Sharif Amin Abu Shamala. Dr. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Dr. Sharif was born in now. So Dr. Sharif was born in Gaza, Palestine. He furthered his studies at Islamic University Gaza, where he attained his degree in architecture and masters in Islamic history. There he won the Young Researchers Award and Palestine Youth Creativity Award. Dr. Sharif now holds a PhD in Islamic Architecture History from University of Malaya, Kuala Lumpur. He is the founder and also the current CEO of Al-Quds Foundation Malaysia, inshallah. So moving on to our second panelist, Ms. Lynn Saleh, the co-founder of Friends of Palestine. Assalamu alaikum, Ms. Lynn.
Wa alaikum assalam.
So Ms. Lynn is a Palestinian refugee and activist who is currently living in Malaysia. She graduated from International Islamic University, Malaysia, with a degree in physiotherapy and rehabilitation. She has experience in event management, and currently Ms. Lynn is the head of media and public relations for the Friends of Palestine Network, inshallah. So our third and last panelist, Brother Sheikh Ahmad Fatih, Sheikh Muhammad Khair. Brother Fatih, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So Brother Fatih is an alumnus of Ma'had Al-Tarbiyah Al-Islamiyah, MATI, Unica Al-Miyat, and also holds a bachelor's degree in marine engineering from St. Petersburg State Marine Technical University in Russia. He also holds an advanced diploma in ship operation and management and is a professional member at the Institute of Chartered Shipbrokers, United Kingdom. Currently, he is a maritime data analyst at IHS Market Maritime and Trade. So Brother Fatih is also an author of several books, inshallah. So before we start the session, my dear brothers and sisters, you can all leave your inquiries in the comment section as we will have a Q&A session, inshallah. Okay, without further ado, let us delve into our topic tonight, which is Sheikh Jarrah, the story behind the story. So since the 11-day attack by Israel on Gaza, we as Malaysians have been vocal on social media supporting Palestinians. The most recent hashtags have been hashtag Free Palestine and also hashtag Save Sheikh Jarrah. So what actually is Sheikh Jarrah? Is it a person or a place or a mosque? So to answer that question, I would like to invite Dr. Sharif Abu Shammala to describe more on the background of Sheikh Jarrah. Doctor, could you tell us about its history and location, inshallah?
inshallah ta'ala. Thank you أخي. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيد الخلق أجمعين محمد ابن عبد الله الصادق الأمين. أما بعد. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be in this session to speak about a very important issue, the issue of Hay al-Sheikh Jarrah or Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, which is a part of Bayt al-Maqdis. And it is important to know the background of the issue of Sheikh Jarrah and part of the long history of Sheikh Jarrah. So to answer your question, Brother Abdul Rahman, about the history and the location of Sheikh Jarrah, it is important to know that the name of Sheikh Jarrah came from or came after the one of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi leaders. His name Husam ad-Din al-Jarrahi. He was one of the leaders of Mujahideen, used to be with Salahuddin al-Ayyubi. This leader was buried at this place of Sheikh Jarrah in Bayt al-Maqdis, and it is it is holding a special importance, that to know that the Muslims always were connected and tied to Baytul Maqdis, regardless their place of birth, regardless the place they came from. So we find many graves in Baytul Maqdis from all over the Muslim world. So Baytul Maqdis was like hub, bringing and attracting the people from everywhere. So it is known to, and it is not strange to find in Baytul Maqdis someone from Egypt, someone from Syria, someone from Morocco, someone from Iraq, someone from Bukhara, someone from Bilad al-Furs or Bilad Faris, Iran now, or someone from Andalusia, which used to be Al-Andalus. So it was a global city. So the existence of the tomb of Husamuddin al-Jarrahi, the leader of Salahuddin, his name is Jarrahi, it is important, and this area named after Husam ad-Din al-Jarrahi. And this neighborhood, we can say it was established in the time of Salahuddin, the time of liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis, means 900 years ago. And the existence of Muslims there, not since that time, maybe before that time, but the name of Sheikh Jarrah is still using for Muslim until this moment. And we find in the British period, when the Britain occupied Palestine, 1918 to 1948, the Zionists start to create myths about the place, and they said there is one of Jewish rabbis was buried at this area, and they claimed this area just to connect themselves in the place, to say we have heritage in this place. In 1947, before the occupation or during the war of the occupation, when Israel launched the war against the Palestinian people, this was started in 1947 and finished in 1948. This area, Sheikh Jarrah, became a strong resistance, or witnessed a strong resistance from the Palestinian people and the Mujahideen at that time, until the 1948. It was part of the Jordanian Authority when Jordan kept the area what we call now West Bank and Jerusalem. At that time in 1948, so the Zionists gangs achieved to occupy a part of Palestine, which is 78% of Palestine, and they occupy what we call the western part of Jerusalem, western part of Bayt al-Maqdis. At the eastern part remained on the hands of the Arabs, especially the Jordanian Authority, and Sheikh Jarrah was part of the east of Jerusalem, east of Bayt al-Maqdis. And after the Nakba, the Jordanian Authority brought 28 families from the refugees and gave them piece of land at the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood to establish a new neighborhood for 28 families. It is the families existed since 1948 in the place, and they gave them the land, and they established their homes, they started their lives, and the UNRWA was part of this agreement between the families and Jordan and UNRWA. because Jordan wanted to give them the land, then to delete their names from UN Working and Relief Agency, UNRWA, records. So this will make the possibilities or the responsibilities of UN or UNRWA less. At that time, Jordan promised the residents of Sheikh Jarrah, the 28 families, to give them full ownership of the land after 3 years of 1956. But for some reasons, we don't know exactly what is the reasons, there was a delay to give them the full ownership of the land until 1967 war launched by Israeli occupation. At that time, Israel completed the occupation of Bayt al-Maqdis, and I will share with you some slides to explain the location and the geography of the history, what I'm saying now. So since 1967, the East Jerusalem, which is the old city of Bayt al-Maqdis, and some refugee camps and some neighborhoods of Bayt al-Maqdis, which used to be part of East Jerusalem, became under the Israeli or the Israeli occupation authorities. The UN demanded Israel to withdraw from this land, but they refused. And this land and this neighborhood became under the Israeli threatening day and night until we reached 1972. So what happened in 1972? In 1972, some settler organization start to claim the land. They said, this land we rent from Ottoman Empire, we have rights in this land, and there is some Israeli laws supporting and backing us, and you as Palestinian wants anything, go to the Israeli court. So it is ironic to go to your enemy court and seek justice. But they control everything in the East Jerusalem and West Jerusalem. So the people of Sheikh Jarrah start to go to the court, especially to the Israeli courts, because there is no choice for them just to go to Israeli courts. And it was very clear that the Israeli court is abusing the Palestinian people and supporting the settlers. And at that time started the attempts from the settlers to control some parts of this neighborhood and to take over some houses. And this unfortunately happened in 2008 when Al-Hajja Kamil Al-Kurd lost her house for one of the settlers, and it was in 2 steps. The first step, one of settlers shared her house. In 2008, he expelled her from her house. It was very painful news. We watched everywhere when Kamil started to protest and to sit in front of her house, claiming her house, and she installed a tent in front of her house and refused to leave her house. Just after a few years, she lost the hope, unfortunately, and they stole the house completely. In 2009, the Israeli court again issued a resolution or demand for the another two families from the Palestinian people to leave their homes, and the settlers occupy the houses again. So we started with Kamil, we lost the first house. Then in 2009, we lost two houses from belonging to two families from Baytul Maqdis. The first Al-Ghawi, the second Hannun. In 2017, also the Israeli court confiscated another house belonging to Hajj Ayub Shamasni. So, as you see, gradually the Israeli occupation and its arms, its settlers occupy and confiscate or demolish and evict the Palestinian people from their homes one by one until we reach the current situation, which I believe Sister Lynn will highlight the issue. Now, if you allow me, Brother Abdurrahman, I have a few slides I want to share with my brothers and sisters about the location of Sheikh Jarrah and the importance of Sheikh Jarrah, okay? Inshallah. Just give me, because I'm new here, share screen. Is it sharing now? Not yet. This one. Share. Okay. Okay, as I said before, in 1948, Israel occupied all the dark blue area of Palestine, which is 78%, and the remaining part was what we call now the Gaza Strip. It was under the Egyptian control, and the West Bank, it was under the Jordanian control. And this lasted till 1967. And what happened in 1967, that Israel completed the occupation of whole Palestine, and by default, the occupation of the whole Bayt al-Maqdis. As you see, the blue area, it was what we call the western part of Jerusalem. Israel occupied in 1948. And the area, the red area here, is the eastern part of Jerusalem, or East Jerusalem. And the white square here, it is the old city of Bayt al-Maqdis, which contains the historical city of Bayt al-Maqdis and Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak. In 1967, Israel occupied the whole area of Bayt al-Maqdis. Now, as you see a blue dots here. This yellow dots. It is the location of Sheikh Jarrah. It is to the north of the old city of Bayt al-Maqdis. And the importance of Sheikh Jarrah, why Israel and the Zionists is keen to occupy the neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah, is just to control the area, to prevent the Palestinians to come to Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak, because Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak is surrounded by the Muslim neighborhood, the Palestinian neighborhood, who come to pray in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak, who come for riba, who always keep Amaratul Masjid, the existence in Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa of the Palestinian people. So they want to cut the way to prevent the Palestinian people to go to Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak. This map is more more clear than the previous. We can find the old city of Bayt al-Maqdis here and the whole city of Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. And this is the Al-Amud gate, the famous gate, witnessed many revolutions and last events. Here, Bab al-Amud, we call in Arabic. Some Western resources call it Damascus Gate. And here is Sheikh Jarrah. If you look to the right of Sheikh Jarrah, we can find Al-Jamia Al-Ibriya, Hebrew University, which is in the east of Sheikh Jarrah. In the west, there is a settlement, the Israeli settlement. So if Israel or settlers control Sheikh Jarrah, this will allow them to prevent the flow of people to come to Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. Why Palestinian people is so keen to not give up in the struggle of Sheikh Jarrah? Because they believe if this time they lose Sheikh Jarrah, tomorrow they will lose Wadi al-Jawz, another neighborhood. They will lose Silwan also. It is in the south part of Jerusalem. So because the Arab neighborhood surrounding Masjid al-Aqsa, they want to break the Israeli settlers and the Israeli occupation regime, want to break the surrounding neighborhood of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. Then they can confiscate Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak or divide Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. So before the struggle in Sheikh Jarrah, it is a symbolic struggle. If we save Sheikh Jarrah, we will save Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. We will save the most Arab, Muslim and Palestinian areas of Bayt al-Maqdis. Israel tried since 1972 to confiscate Hay al-Sheikh Jarrah, but they tried. There was one of things happened when an Israeli lawyer cheated some families in Sheikh Jarrah, and he dealt with the Israeli court to give the Israeli court false information, and he reached a deal with the Israeli occupation court that the land belongs to the settlers, but the families of Sheikh Jarrah refused this, and they still struggle to restore their right in their homes. And as we see these days, how strong our brothers and sisters in Sheikh Jarrah. So I believe our brothers there will continue their struggle, and they will gain the battle to save their homes, to save their sovereignty over their land and Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. This is in short about Sheikh Jarrah. I hope I could highlight the issue of Sheikh Jarrah from history perspective and the location and geography perspective. Thank you, Akhi Abdul Rahman, again, and I am with you, very happy to be with you this night, inshallah ta'ala.
Thank you, Dr. Sharif. So, thank you, Dr. Sharif. So now we have heard about Sheikh Jarrah and how it is vital in its from its perspective of history and also location, inshallah. So now let us move on to our second panelist, Sister Lynn. So Sister Lynn, what is actually happening in Sheikh Jarrah right now? Before the 11th day attack, we heard that 6 families, if I'm not mistaken, have been evicted from their homes. This led to a protest by Palestinians in Sheikh Jarrah, which has been believed to be the cause of further escalation of the situation. And now we've heard about the journalist siblings, Muna and Muhammad Al-Qurt, being caught and interrogated by the Israeli occupation forces. So, Sister Lin, I would like to ask, what is currently happening in Sheikh Jarrah? Why Sheikh Jarrah and not other places? And how Israel illegally carrying out its occupation? Inshallah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mustafa, for having me here in this program, and it's my pleasure to address such a problem. Actually, we have been talking about Sheikh Jarrah for around 2 months so far in Malaysia, and you can see how people are interested to understand the significance of this neighborhood, as you mentioned, and how it will have like a different consideration in our struggle with the occupation, and especially in Jerusalem and in Jerusalem. Following up on what Dr. Sharif had, I would like actually to add on that, to remember something before moving on, that Sheikh Jarrah has a special significance in Jerusalem, because it's in the northern side of Al-Aqsa Mosque. And not talking only about something very important to mention as always is that many neighborhoods in Jerusalem are the same thing what was happening in Sheikh Jarrah has happened to them, and other cities in West Bank are facing the same events and ethnic cleansing as Sheikh Jarrah. That's something to keep in mind. So when we are raising awareness about this case, and we were talking about Muna and Muhammad, we need to apply this and to keep on remembering that the situation is actually happening in each and every part of Palestine. So talking about Sheikh Jarrah, most of the people who were living there, as Doctor has mentioned, they are Palestinians, and only until 1967 that thing has changed, and Israeli actually captured the area, and they started moving the settlers in. He has mentioned about the families who were evicted, and I not to have further explanation on that, but I would like to mention that the Israeli policy, actually, they have they talk about their goal to have 60% of population in Jerusalem are Jewish, and the other 40% from Palestinians are Palestinians. That's not the case. Let's say that in the last century, only 40% of the population in the East Jerusalem were Jewish, and that can tell us that the number is increasing by time. So when we're talking about Sheikh Jarrah, we're talking about people who were refugees and who came over to this place in order to have a better living, and now they're facing the same kind of situation that their parents and grandparents have facing. The story has started actually since last year, not like last century, when the courts, people have been visiting the courts on a monthly basis, and they have been going there so far. And what made it different this year is that the file and the statement have reached to the Supreme Court, and that would lead to a massive protest, and all the social media were covering the news. Talking about the recent situation, if you would like to know how this whole stories have started, Muna Al-Qurt, actually, she was to make a social media campaign with her friends using a Clubhouse application. They didn't actually succeed in the first time to reach out to many people, but at the second campaign, they were using the hashtag Save Sheikh Jarrah, and they have made it. And many people were joining live sessions during Ramadan and raising awareness about Sheikh Jarrah until everyone knew the story only from Muna's phone. And if you could see the video that she shared when she was only 13, 12 years old, she would be telling the story of her family and the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, and if that would be the only price she would pay in case she's at the home. So as we can tell, the Israelis, the settlers are claiming historically they had the land since the Ottoman Empire, and they're faking documents that they do have these homes. And they're asking the courts, even one of the lawyers actually, I can send you the documentary and the interview with him, one of the lawyers who worked in this, and he's working in one of the courts. He mentioned that yes, we do that to see Sheikh Jarrah only Jewish people living. He said it publicly, and he wasn't shy about mentioning that. And he also mentioned that even that the United Nations and Jordan governments have agreed on giving these homes to Palestinians, this was before the occupation of East Jerusalem, and all these declared agreements are denied now, and it's not valid anymore. That's the thing they're saying, and that's what the Palestinians lawyers and the settlers lawyers actually are facing now. And let's keep in mind that in the next month, the last order of the court will be there, hopefully, as they mentioned. It's not actually promising. We're not waiting for any just or any like you know the word that, but say that this revolution that happened in media actually did affect the situation. It was the Supreme Court appointment supposed to be in May, and they delayed that after the using of the hashtag, and despite the Facebook and the Instagram policies of actually suppressing the voices and blocking the accounts and removing many posts and so on. But still, that actually made a huge progress. And Israel, we always know that the occupation and Israel government and policy is one of the main things they take care of is their image in the public opinion of other countries, and especially the Western and in the US side, which was hugely affected. We've seen many protests and march happening in US and Europe as well. In that case, they delayed the statements in the court in order for waiting the people to cool down and to forget about that case, so they can come again and keep on doing the same violation they are doing. When Sheikh Jarrah, you asked me about Muna and Muna, keep on mentioning and reminding that Israel actually they want to take over Sheikh Jarrah and then another neighborhood, looking forward.
So sorry for the line. So we have a technical problem. So as Sister Lin, Miss Lin was saying, she said that the Supreme Court was supposed to hold the issue in May, but then from the efforts and the publicization of the hashtags, um, from the hashtags of Free Palestine and Sheikh Jarrah, despite the media policies, social media policies by Facebook and Instagram, as we know, which have censored a lot of these issues, but it has made the Supreme Court of Israel it has made the Supreme Court of Israel delay their supposed their supposed their supposed jurisdiction like that. So so we can see that this is a positive sign, and we hope that our voices, albeit small, but we hope that what we are carrying out on social media and events such as this will lead to global awareness, which will lead to pressure, to give pressure on Israel internationally. So this is one of the ways that we can help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, inshallah. So yes, so we have Sister Lynn back online, so we will proceed, inshallah. Maybe another 5 minutes, can? Okay, so now we will try to get Miss Lynn online back again. Sorry for the inconvenience, inshallah. Okay, Sister Lynn, I will pass to Sister Lynn, inshallah.
Okay. Thank you so much. What was the last thing? Online? Okay. Never mind. So in brief, talking about the current situation in Sheikh Jarrah, everyone now know the symbols of Sheikh Jarrah and the symbol of resistance in the Palestinian cause, Muhammad Al-Kurd family, including the other 27 families who are threatened to be forced displaced from Sheikh Jarrah. Keep that in mind, and the significance like that, the Mass Ramadan, then the media revolution that started from Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, moving to Al-Aqsa attack, war, which is still an area of resilience and struggle for all Palestinians, different districts, different neighborhoods, and in short, I'm really sorry for all this from the connect or the team, and I hope that I've delivered a quite good message that everyone is looking for, and just keep on following the. And thanks for your.
Thank you, Ms. Lin. So we have heard, although with the
Yeah.
we have heard from Ms. Lin about what is happening in Sheikh Jarrah now, and also the recent escalation or the recent oppression at the gate of Damascus, Bab al-Amud, on how on recently on the Israeli Flag March Day. So what I can conclude from what Ms. Lin has said is that this struggle is a struggle throughout all of Palestine, but it is significant in Sheikh Jarrah because of the strategic and location of Sheikh Jarrah at the northern point of Masjid Al-Aqsa. So this occupation, which Israel is threatening Palestinians, has been ongoing in Palestine for the past 73 years. So if we see the pictures posted on social media, we often see the slogan "Lan Narhal," so painted on the occupied homes. So what does the slogan actually mean? And for that, let us ask our third and final panelist, Brother Fatih. So, Brother Fatih, what is the meaning behind the slogan? And finally, what is the role of individuals, societies, and countries in helping to bring this issue to justice, inshallah? تفضل.
Thank you, Brother Abdul Rahman. Am I audible? Okay. Just want to make sure that I'm not talking to myself. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain.
Actually, the internet connection is not really that good, and couldn't read or see the requests. Just excuse me, I'm having a program on Facebook.
First of all, I would like to thank the organizer for having me on this program tonight. It was very humbling when I look at the panelists lineup. Both Dr. Sharif and also Miss Lin Saleh were a CEO, whilst I was just an ordinary person, someone you usually meet on the street or in Pasar Malam in Malaysia. But nevertheless, I will try my best to be useful in this forum. I was born in 1990, 42 years after the Jewish militia, the Haganah, Irgun, and Stern Gang ethnically cleansed Palestine in 1948. The year that the Palestinians and the whole world right now known as the Nakba. So, but 73 years on after 1948, I think the ethnic cleansing is still ongoing in Palestine. So in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem, and in many other places like Dr. Sharif has said that in Silwan, and also the famous one that we are currently discussing today is in Sheikh Jarrah. But now I am 31 years old. I have 2 kids, and Palestine is still not liberated. Which beg the questions: is there any hope? Is there any light at the end of the tunnel in this long struggle? So this question relates back to the question asked by the brother Abdul Rahman on the slogan "Lan Narhal." You can see that the Zionists, they tried their best to ethnically cleanse Palestine. Their operation is not complete. So what you see in Sheikh Jarrah, in Silwan, in East Jerusalem, I think is the continuation of the ethnic cleansing, which started in 1948, but it's still ongoing until today. So the Palestinians are still there. They're not moving around. They're still resisting the colonization and occupation of Palestine after 73 years. That is, for me, is a success, and optimism that we should hold on after 73 years of trying by the most brutal way you can imagine, by bombing, by massacring. We often see in history the massacre of Palestinians in Deir Yassin, and when they seek refuge to Lebanon, they are still being murdered in Shabra and Shatila. So, but after all of that, uh, Palestinians still hold on to their land. For me, that is the optimism that we should hold on. So the Palestinian right now, from my understanding, can be said to be divided geographically. Um First of all, the one that absorbed by Israel as citizen after they conducted the ethnic cleansing in 1948. Second are the Palestinian that live under occupations after the 1967 war. And third is the Palestinian that live in the open prison in Gaza. And fourth are the Palestinian that living abroad as refugees and also in diaspora. So this unique division actually gave the Palestinian, I think, in my point of view, an edge to struggle for liberation in multiple fronts. So the first three of the category of the Palestinians, I think that is the very important, as they are the one that are holding the ground. So Israel propaganda usually will tell you that actually Palestine does not exist. There is no letter P in Arabic, so it's impossible that Palestine exists because there is no P, letter P in Arabic. But then you have to ask, how come they did not exist but they resist? So for me, La Nahal means that the Palestinians' refusal to be erased from history. As you can hear from Dr. Sharif, how they want to take the land and how they want to they want to change the name of the street, the name of the village, the name of the town. So they want to erase the Palestinian people, the Palestinian history, but Palestinians continue to struggle to liberate themselves, and they have the full support from us in Malaysia and especially from me. So for the second part of the questions, I think as we understand the situations, just like Dr. Sharif has explained to us the history and the geographical locations, and Miss Lin have explained to us the current situation on the ground. So what should we do? How can we help? So I think as individual and society, I think we still need to educate ourselves and our friends in Malaysia regarding the issues, especially the Christian Zionists that we have in Malaysia that are very much alive, which still support Israel. So we need to understand that the history, and we also need to be able to explain it to others, so they also can understand. So we need to be the voice of Palestinian brothers and sisters when the mainstream media were silent about them. As Ms. Lin said that even Facebook and Instagram regularly take down Palestinian voices, Palestinian posting, Palestinian hashtag. So we need to do our part to make sure that their voices are heard by our community and also by the international community. So we need to write Facebook posting, write a tweet, blog post, write articles. So we need to do our part. We need to write Facebook posts, write a tweet, blog post, write articles, books, whatever we can. Do a podcast so that the issue will be widely known. But I think we also need to go beyond that. We also need to participate in the targeted boycott, especially the companies which have been highlighted by BDS movement. BDS is a boycott, divestment and sanction. We also have a BDS branch, BDS Malaysia. So among the companies that are complicit with the Israeli crimes that we need to boycott are like HP, which manufacture computer product, Puma, sport apparel, security company like G4S, and also manufacturer of vehicles like US company Caterpillar. So we need to join this targeted boycott so that we can put some pressure to the Israeli, so that the occupation is not cost free, the colonization is not cost free, it must cost them dearly. So we should pressure our government also to ban these companies from operating in our countries, because they are explicitly complicit in Israeli crimes against the Palestinians. So as a country, I think our government should drop the two-state solution stance, because I think there is no solution in that. It's not a solution. It's just a smoke screen to continue the occupation and colonizations, because there are more illegal settlement, more land grab. We can see after the Oslo Accord. So our government also need to vigorously work with international partners to isolate Israel. Make sure that apartheid Israel is isolated, just like how apartheid South Africa was once isolated. This will be include to exclude Israel from the international community, such as the Olympic, etc. So I think this is what we can do and what we should do uh, to help our brothers and sisters in Palestine, to make sure that their voices are heard and their struggles will continue. We should not allow Israeli to continue with their crime, to continue with their uh, land grab and also the occupations, and to help our brother and sister to liberate themselves from this already overdue colonization and occupation. I think there is the Western colonization already ended. I think the Israeli occupation is the last Western colonization that we have to fight, and we should end. Malaysia also was colonized before by various European and also Eastern power, by the Portuguese, by the British, and by the Japanese. They occupied us, but that already become history for us. So we need to ensure that the Israeli occupation also become a history, not ongoing like the current situation. I think that is my answer to the questions. I give back to brother Abdul Rahman.
Thank you, Brother Fatih. Very important points pointed out by Brother Fatih. Firstly, to educate ourselves so that we can become voices for our brothers and sisters in Palestine, and to join the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment and sanction movement, and then to eventually end the occupation of Israel, to make the occupation of Israel a history, as how other occupations have ended, such as in South Africa and other places, inshallah. So now we will take a break before the Q&A session. So if you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section, whether on YouTube or on Facebook. So we will play a short video. Stay tuned and don't forget to leave your questions once again. Assalamualaikum.
التي كتب الله لكم ولا ترتدوا على أدباركم فتنقلبوا خاسرين.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back, dear brothers and sisters. So, as there are no questions yet, so we will proceed with the conclusion of tonight's forum. So, we will let our panelists provide a conclusion. Each panelist provide a conclusion, inshallah. So, let us start with Dr. Sharif, inshallah. Dr. Sharif, تفضل.
جزاكم الله خير أخي عبد الرحمن, and I thank you again and thank my colleagues in this session, Sister Lynn, Brother Fathi, and everyone who worked for this webinar to be online or live. Actually, my last words and the conclusion that we should always keep in our minds that we fight for a holy issue. We fight for the issue of Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa and Bayt Al-Maqdis. We should always remind ourselves that we should be part of this struggle and should be part of this holy mission we involve in. Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa is the part of our Aqidah, and it is the core of struggle and the core of resistance. I don't like to use a core of conflict. It is the core of resistance resistance facing the occupation and injustice. So I believe everyone should have part in this struggle, and if we been able to gain some points in this level of struggle, we will gain more points next time, because the last days proved that the resistance is an effective way to protect your rights and to gain more rights, especially when, as a brother Fathi said about March of Flags, that previously the Zionists, the settlers, the extremists used to come with more than 60,000 of settlers to invade Baitul Maqdis and the old city and go inside the Muslim neighborhoods, reaching Masjid Al-Aqsa Al-Mubarak, dancing in front of Al-Buraq wall. So all provocation they do. But now, this time, after resistance and after steadfastness of our brothers and sisters in Sheikh Jarrah, in Gaza, in West Bank, inside Palestine, the occupied Palestine, everywhere, the extremists changed their path in this last march, and they minimized the number of individuals who participate in this march, less than 500. We, all of us, watched the videos, saw the pictures of them, how they are just a few number became, and how they were afraid, and they closed the gate of Bab al-Amud, the gate of Damascus gate. So all kinds of supporting our brothers is needed, and our brothers is doing a great job on behalf of our ummah and on behalf of us, and we should do better. And I advise everyone to have his or her own project to support Palestine or to support the liberation of Masjid Al-Aqsa and Bayt Al-Maqdis. Sheikh Jarrah is a Muslim Arab area and will remain Muslim Arab area, as we believe Bayt Al-Maqdis is a Muslim Arab Palestinian city of as the capital of Palestine. We believe every part of Palestine is important, and we should defend this part. Again, I thank everyone and thank my brothers here in Malaysia. We always find them, alhamdulillah ta'ala, working hard for Palestine. So we thank them again, and I believe knowing better about Palestine is one of tools to be more active in liberating and the struggle of liberation of Palestine. Thank you. Jazakumullah khair.
Jazakumullah khairan, Doctor. So we have heard from Dr. Sharif on how the resistance actually has improvement, and so it is a very positive sign, and we should be optimistic of what's to come, inshallah. So now moving on to Miss Lin, inshallah. Miss Lin, a bit of conclusion, inshallah.
All right. Assalamualaikum. I hope everyone can hear me. Alaikum, and thanks for online run for Al-Quds. Thank you for organizing this, and I was very impressed when I first entered the website you guys have made. And thanks for this opportunity, always for Palestinians to speak up for ourselves and to actually deliver the voices of our fellow Palestinians living in Palestine. And I'm talking about this as a Palestinian young refugee who's living in Malaysia for 8 years and more so far. And it's my pleasure actually to be in this country. My message would be delivered to anyone.
Is it ongoing? Because I can't hear
and to
Miss
students
Lee.
also, and to all activists and people from different aspects and different interests, is to take a part and to make your role in this
I can't hear
fight and
anything.
in this
So
liberation movement we're having for
I
Palestine,
think I
Palestine
can't
freedom.
hear Miss Lee, and Miss Lee can't hear
How
me.
is doing
So
that? Actually, when we're
that's a
talking about
problem.
the
But
online
never mind.
activism right now, when we're talking about volunteerism, when we're talking about having different resources, talking about Palestine, that's the first step anyone could be having as an easy tool in order to serve for this just cause. So everyone now have a way to participate, to make a part, and to create an impact as well. We need people who can create, and in order to do that, you need to have better knowledge of the case in Palestine. You can read more. You always remember that you have the responsibility of every new information you know about Palestine to deliver it to your family, to your friends, and to the environment and society you're living in. Do remember that without Muhammad and Muna Kurd voices, we wouldn't have been here in this program together, having this session, talking about Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood, or talking about any other case in Palestine. We would be having a regular kind of events
Can
and program without
Brother Taufik
actually
notify me
seeing what's
when
happening in
Miss
the
Lin
floor
is
over
finished,
there,
inshallah?
without
Because I
the
can't hear
change of
Miss
the
Lin.
mainstream media, without having filters of what people are really saying and facing. We're having the raw data and information from on the ground, different parts in different cities and so on. So having this in mind actually would make the battle very different. And Mona has mentioned something which I really liked, and I believe that we need to remember that she has said, imagine yourself beating an Israeli soldier every time you post something on Instagram or every time you're having a program or doing something for Palestine. And I would tell you this as a Palestinian who's living outside and I don't have any single chance to go to my homeland, to my country, is that they are strong people. They're not fearful. They're fighting for the freedom, but without having us supporting them from the outside, their motivation and the spirit would be much different. So despite that we're not there on the ground, we maybe cannot do something physically there, but our support is very important, and they can have this feeling, the energy. They can tell that they do have huge support from Muslim countries and other parts of the world as well. That would be from my side. Please do not hesitate to ask anything if you need to know more information about Palestine, and always keep yourself questioning and asking in order to reach out and to make your role in this liberation. And thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Lee. Sorry if I interrupted back then. So now we will move on to our third panelist, inshallah, Brother Fathi. تفضل Brother Fathi.
Okay. Thank you again, Brother Abdurrahman, and thank you also to my fellow panelists, Dr. Sharif, and also Miss Lin, Soleh, sharing the platform with me today. And thank you to organizer for having me tonight. So for my conclusion, I think that many have been said by Dr. Sharif and also Miss Lin about our the situation that we have currently in Palestine, the ongoing occupation and also the ongoing colonization of Palestine. So uh, oh, we should not lose hope. I think that is the most important, the important thing. Because I can see that sometimes our others Arab countries also have given up on their brothers and sisters in Palestine by having a normalized ties with Israel. I think we as Malaysian, we never recognize Israel in the first place, and I think we should hold that position, and also to continue to make sure that our society, our community will not accept this normalization with Israel, that we should continue uh, our position that we did not recognize the state of Israel, and we also need to continue our support for our Palestinian brothers and sisters to gain back their independence, their dignity, and their humanity, and all their rights, including the right of return for the refugees that are currently living in the other countries, and also the right for Palestinians to have their land back, their home back, and also their right to have their own self-determination, self-governance. And we also need to continue our struggle, and does not lose trust. If history teach us something, that the injustices and also the cruelty will never ever can be sustained forever. There must be some end to it. So if you see the colonization of the British in India also for hundreds of years, but it finally come to an end. And I firmly believe that the colonization of Palestine, even though we see that today they have a great power, they have great support from the United States, but eventually history will come, and the time I think is on our side, on the Palestinian side, and we will see the Palestinians and Palestine to gain back their right and their independence. And we also hope that we can see this in our own lifetime. So I give back to Mr. Abdul Rahman.
Thank you very much, Brother Fatih. So, as we have heard the conclusion from all of our panelists, I would like to maybe steal some time. There's a few questions, inshallah. So, the first question is from Sister Zainab Abdullah. She asked that, can you tell us the history of the or the brief history of Sheikh Jarrah? Who is Sheikh Jarrah? So I think Dr. Sharif has already explained, but to answer further, I would like to once again call upon Dr. Sharif, inshallah. Dr. Sharif, tafaddal.
Inshallah ta'ala. Briefly, Sheikh Jarrah is the name that people in Palestine used to name the area where it is in the north of Baitul Maqdis. And the name Sheikh Jarrah is the short name of the tomb of the leader of Salahuddin al-Sheikh Hussam al-Din al-Jarrahi. So by time, the people used to say Sheikh Al-Jarrahi then became Sheikh Jarrah. Sheikh Jarrah as one word. He used to be one of Salahuddin leaders who participated in the Battle of Liberation of Bayt al-Maqdis in year 1187 BC. After AC, after Christ. And this battle was the battle to liberate Bayt al-Maqdis. So when he was passed away, the people buried his body at that time at this place. Then the place gained the name after him. So it is the origin of the name of Sheikh Jarrah.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Sharif, for the explanation. I think that is clear. So the name Sheikh Jarrah comes from one of the commanders of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, Sheikh Hussam ad-Din al-Jarrah, if not mistaken.
Yes.
So so we have a second question, maybe the last question. So the question is from I'm not sure, but the name here is Astakona. So Astakona says, I have a question. Is there any way Palestinians can apply UNESCO some places as historical sites so that Israel has have no other way of sneaking around? So I think I will open this question to our panelists. So
I think this one is for Dr. Sharif.
okay, Dr. Sharif also.
Yes, actually, Bayt al-Maqdis and the old city of Jerusalem and the Masjid al-Aqsa is listed in the UNESCO heritage, global heritage. But we can ask this question if Israel is a normal state. Israel is a criminal state, the one who genocide the people of Palestine. He will take care about the international community, about the heritage, the one who slaughtered the Palestinian people in their village, in their homes. He bombed Gaza for 11 days. He killed 70 kids. He will be so aware about the international community and no. I think Israel, even these sites, the Islamic sites and the historical sites for both Muslim and the Christians, recorded in the international records like UNESCO heritage list. But Israel doesn't care, and Israel going on its plan to destroy Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. It is not secret that Israel ultimate plan is to destroy Al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak, to establish instead of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak a temple for Jews, and now they try to do to divide Masjid al-Aqsa between Muslims and Jews, and they want to take over the eastern part of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. One more thing I will add. In 1967, when Israel occupied Bayt al-Maqdis, completed occupying Palestine, there was a neighborhood called Hayul Maghariba, Moroccan Quarter. It is beside Masjid al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. It was containing 600 houses, historical houses. It was containing 2 mosques. It was containing 6 schools. All of these buildings was historical buildings and considered antiques. The next day of the occupation, Israel brought the bulldozers and raised all these buildings to have what we call what they call now Wheeling Wall Plaza, which we call the ساحة حائط البراق Wall Plaza. They raised 1/4 of the old city of Bayt al-Maqdis to have this. So Israel doesn't care on any historical, cultural thing when it comes to its criminal acts. That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Sharif. So I agree very much with Dr. Sharif. So plus Israel has the backing of United States. So any international pressure put on Israel, we can see that the United States of America can easily use their veto in the United Nations to reject the notion of Israel as an apartheid state, as an illegal occupation, and so on. So I think we have reached the end of our forum tonight. Before we end, I would like to invite my dear brothers and sisters to join the Run and Ride for Al-Aqsa 2.0 to show our solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Palestine, inshallah. So thank you to all the audience for staying with us until the end, and our highest appreciations to all our panelists, despite the technical issues, and for their time and their input tonight. So inshallah, a shout out to our organizers also for organizing such an important event, and to raise our awareness and to hopefully to further educate us so that we can be the voices of our brothers and sisters in Palestine, inshallah. So I would like to once again apologize for any shortcomings throughout this program, such as the technical issue just now. So before we end our ceremony, maybe I would like to invite Dr. Sharif to recite a dua, if possible.
إن شاء الله تعالى. جزاكم الله خير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. حمدا لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. اللهم إن هذا إقبال ليلك وذكرك وأصوات دعاتك فاغفر لنا. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تحرر أرضنا وأن تحرر المسجد الأقصى المبارك. اللهم إنا نسألك بأسمائك الحسنى وصفاتك العليا أن ترفع يد اليهود عن المسجد الأقصى المبارك. اللهم إنا نسألك تحريرا قريبا للمسجد الأقصى المبارك. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تحفظ المجاهدين في فلسطين وفي كل مكان. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تحفظ أهلنا في غزة وفي بيت المقدس وفي كل مكان. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك والنار. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تمنحنا بركة المسجد الأقصى المبارك. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تجعلنا من العاملين للمسجد الأقصى المبارك. اللهم هيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يمتع عينيه بفتح المسجد الأقصى المبارك. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تحفظ بلادنا وبلاد المسلمين أجمعين. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تحفظ ماليزيا وأهلها. اللهم إنا نسألك أن تجعل هذا بلدا طيبا سخاء رخاء يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك أن ترد كيد المحتلين، أن ترحم الشهداء، أن تشفي الجرحى، أن تفرج عن الأسرى. اللهم آمين. وصل اللهم وسلم على سيدنا محمد وبارك الله فيكم.
Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Once again, thank you very much to our panelists. So let us close our ceremony by reciting Tasbih Kafarah and Suratul Asr.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق